so Jon Stewart gets on here and says he did some pretty interesting verbal gymnastics to kind of acknowledge the problem, but still say it's a conspiracy theory, or still say that I understand people think that there is a problem, and because people think that, we should have the conversation. Not because it's true. When we watch this clip, we're going to watch this, and you need to watch carefully. Jon Stewart says exactly, the problem is that a lot of people have this perception that Jews run the entertainment industry. And because a lot of people have that perception, it creates a problem. It creates a stereotype. And so we need to talk about that problem and that stereotype. But that's not admitting that it is 100% true, and the fact that it is true is the problem. Not the fact that people have this perception. Like, he's trying to pretend like the perception is false. It's not false. So it's disingenuous to some degree, but to John's credit, in this clip we're about to watch, he also does say that he is staunchly against taking things away from people when they say something that's, even in your eyes, hurtful or perpetuating stereotypes or anti-Semitic tropes, as they like to call them. Jon Stewart does say very clearly that, blackballing people from the industry, getting their contracts canceled, that stuff, that's not the way you combat people having, let's just call it a misunderstanding. Let's just give you the benefit of the doubt and say Kyrie and Chappelle and Elon and who was the other guy? Kyrie and all the other people. Wasn't it Charlemagne that had a leaked video from some years ago saying the exact same thing? Taylor Swift complained that she didn't have rights to her music. Like, none of this is new. None of this is new. So let's just roll the clip. Let's roll the clip, show you guys what I'm talking about here. And it's a 15-minute interview that's been trimmed down to a couple minutes. I want to rewatch it again, so we're going to do that.
Censorship penalties are the way to end anti-Semitism or to not gain understanding. I don't believe in that. And I think it's the wrong way for us to approach it. Kyrie Irving, they suspended him from playing basketball. In all seriousness, penalizing somebody for having a thought, I don't think is the way to change their minds or gain understanding. This is a grown-ass man. And the idea that you would say to him, we're going to put you in a timeout. You have to sit in the corner and stare at the wall until you no longer believe that the Jews control the international banking system. Like, we have to get...
See how he used that as a punchline? Like, you need to stop believing this crazy thing about the Jews having control over the banking system. That's ridiculous. It's embedded in a joke about it being ridiculous to put Kyrie in timeout. Do you see? So he's giving both sides what they want. He's giving the people saying, hey, this is a real problem, needs to be talked about it. He's saying, you're right, we shouldn't be putting people in timeout, we shouldn't be canceling people, whatever. But he's also doing the Jew thing of, it's a conspiracy theory, Jews don't control the banks, that's stupid. So, pay attention, people.
Past this in the country, the ability to, look, people think this. People think Jews control Hollywood. People think Jews control the banks. To pretend that they don't.
Right? Hold on.
And to not deal with it in a straightforward manner, we will never gain any kind of understanding with it.
So that wording is ambiguous. He goes straight from people think Jews control Hollywood, and they think that they control the financial institutions. And to pretend that they don't is to ignore the situation. Pause. Are you saying, and to pretend that Jews don't own both of those institutions? Or are you saying, and to pretend that people don't think that? For the same way that many people can think I'm an asshole, I'm a bigot, I'm, xenophobic, transphobic, blah, 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 racist, misogynist, white supremacist, all these things. Anyone who actually knows me personally knows I have no hatred in my heart. I have gay and black friends and always have my entire life. I grew up in a primary black neighborhood and went through primarily black public schools. I'm not here to defend myself. The point being here is that the way Jon Stewart put that message out there is that you can hear what you want to hear. We shouldn't pretend that people don't think that there's a problem. So similarly, people think that I have this problem. The problem may not actually be real. I'm not actually racist and all these other things. But the fact that people do think that is a real problem. It is a real problem that people have the wrong impression of me. But that's a big difference than saying the other way of pretending that it's not true. Is the perception not true, or the other way around? Is it not true that it's actually happening, or is it not true that people think that?
Well, what do you imagine a more straightforward manner would be? Because people have the right to say whatever they want. So what is the response? What do you imagine a response is to something if people perceive anti-Semitism in someone's into what Kyrie Irving posts, right, or what Kanye says, or what Dave said on Saturday night? What do you think a good response would be? I think just reflexively naming things anti-Semitism is as reductive as some of the things that they might be saying. It immediately shuts down a conversation. I'm called anti-Semitic because I'm against Israel's treatment of Palestinians. I can't pretend that there aren't a ton of people in this country and this world who believe that the Jews have an unreasonable amount of control over the systems and they wield it as puppet masters.
He did it again. Did you hear that? I can't pretend that other people don't think. That's different than saying I can't pretend that we as Jews don't actually have all this power, because we do. You got to see what's going on here. He's placating the masses and saying, I know you guys think this stuff, and the fact that you think it, okay, let's talk about it, because it really is a problem that you guys think the wrong thing. That's what he's doing. So, big fail to anybody who's actually paying attention. Big fail to anybody who is red-pilled and can see through these manipulative language games that they do. The same way we're going to get to this in another story here in just a minute. The same way they're going to get, the CDC is now saying, we never said that doctors shouldn't give people ivermectin. Really? We'll talk about that here in a minute. But let's just finish up this clip here.
We play with tropes because everyone has prejudice in their lives and in the way that they view things. Comics rely on those prejudices as a shorthand for our material. Even the wokest of comics plays with tropes to a certain extent. And I'm afraid that the general tenor of conversation in this country is cover it up, bury it, put it to the outskirts, and don't deal with it. Look at it from a black perspective. It's a culture that feels that its wealth has been extracted by different groups, whites, Jews. Whether it's true or not isn't the issue. That's the feeling in that community. And if you don't understand that that's where it's coming from, then you can't deal with it. And you can't sit down with them and explain that being in an industry isn't the same as having a nefarious and controlling interest in that industry and intention. And that's in the anti-Semitic trope. But you need to be able to meet people from what they're...
Okay, so let's just pause. Jews are not just hanging out in that industry, making lots of money off of their disproportionate ownership of that industry. If that's what was happening, no one would have a problem. It's the cancel culture that they use as a weapon because they own the industry that you're seeing happen with your own eyes. Look at Chappelle, look at Kyrie Irving, look at Kanye, and look at Elon, all within the last month. So to sit here and pretend that they're not doing something, that it's just all perception that Jewish people abuse their influence in the entertainment industry. Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. Though this guy is a slippery little worm. He's very eloquent, and he's honestly probably, like, when you talk about Democrats and liberals having some level of critical thinking skills and being able to create compelling arguments, he's one of the top. I'll give him that. Obama was very good. He's also in that same category of very eloquent, very convincing with his arguments, and you have to pay very close attention, hit pause every 45 seconds to actually dissect what they say for the masses, because most people are going to hear Oh, okay, you're right. It's just it's a perception problem, and the fact that people do have that perception, that is a problem. Jon Stewart is so insightful. He's right. No. That is completely ignoring what is happening in real time to people by the Jewish mafia. So, coming down hard on him because I'm just calling out the truth, the obvious truth that he's intentionally pretending these problems aren't going on because they affect him. They affect the elite Jewish influencers of the world. But if there was one good thing to come out of that interview, after all those lying, misdirecting kind of comments, it is the public statement from one of the head Jews, one of the public-facing head Jews. The head Jews do not go on the other side of the curtain, by the way. Your public Jews are like the Jonathan Greenblatt at the ADL, who is publicly putting on his Twitter account, hey, let me use my Jewish influence to guilt trip other companies into firing athletes and entertainers. That's what I do for a living. That's my entire job. We talked about that yesterday. The saddest life I've ever seen. So yeah, Jon Stewart's on here. He's basically playing damage control. He's playing damage control for the perception out there. And how he's trying to mop up this disaster is by saying, okay, let's talk about the perception. Don't talk about the fact that it's true and that it's real and that it has been happening for hundreds of years. Let's just talk about the perception. We should be allowed to have a conversation about the perception. I don't want to let this story go because it really does piss me off that he's being so slippery like that. But either way, to get one positive mark for the interview, he does say the way to handle either the perception or if it's a real problem, he calls it just a perception problem. The way to handle it is not to put people in timeout and to get them fired from their jobs and all that. So maybe because now that a Democrat has said it and a very eloquent and influential Democrat has said it, people will go, huh, that's such a compelling argument, actually talking about the racial tensions between groups rather than just, pretending they don't exist. Good idea. Maybe we should even talk about the reason those racial tensions exist and not just the perceptions. Maybe we should talk about empirical evidence and statistics. If you want to actually have the conversation, let's do it based on facts, not based on perceptions. And this is the thing. This is the liberal argument that perception is everything. That's how they view the world. Facts don't matter. Perception is everything. So if you are told COVID is the most deadly thing in the world, it's the next version of AIDS, doesn't matter that that's not true. You now have a perception that there's this deadly virus out there killing zillions of people, and so now you are going to go out into the world and manifest that perception around other people. And if a lot of other people receive that same wrong opinion, they're going to come to the same perception, and now everybody's just perpetuating a false perception out there in the world. So it's not perception that needs to be discussed. It's facts that need to be discussed. Go look at the Ivy League schools and look at the board members, the presidents, and the CEOs and see how many of them are Jewish. Let's just start there. Go look at the NBA. Look at the top 15 teams in the NBA and see how many of them are Jewish. Do the same thing for other professional sports. Do the same thing for other recording labels. Or for recording labels, do the same thing for all the entertainment industry. As Kanye said, pull the contracts and look at them. If you want to have this argument, let's not do it based on perception. Let's do it based on facts. Let's go to the finance industry. Start looking there. That's going to look real bad if you do it based on facts, not perception. So that's Jon Stewart doing damage control for the Jewish Mafia.